The Influencer's Edge is brought to you by the Rapid Sales Accelerator. If you're ready to skyrocket your sales by 30% or more in just 90 days, then you need to claim your free training right now. You'll learn 4 words that will compel your prospects to trust you like they were children within the first 3 to 5 minutes of any conversation across any platform and any medium. You'll learn how to give your prospects objection amnesia, to crush objections like, I need to talk to my spouse, or I need more time to think it over, or it's too expensive. If you'd like to claim your free training now, go to www.paulrossbook.com. Do it before your competition does it now. Welcome to the Influencer's Edge. This is the place where you come to get the latest breakthroughs, cutting-edge insights, tools, and techniques to leapfrog over the pack in sales, persuasion, and influence. Be sure you visit our website at www.theinfluencersedge.com. And while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now sit back, tune in, and enjoy today's episode.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all the ships at sea, it is Paul Ross, your host with the most of the Influencer's Edge podcast, where we bring you people, guests who disconnect the dots, color outside the lines, and think outside the box, because that's how I do it. So that's what my guests will do. This is my show, so if we veer off topic, my guest is welcome to just sign off, because I don't care. And I warned her, here comes NECA, ladies and gentlemen, my kitty cat NECA, my old lady cat who was 16 died last month. So NECA wants to be the center of attention now, so I allow it. So our guest today is Alison Mullins. Say hi, Alison.
Hello.
It's Mullins, plural. So let me read a little bit. I told Alison I tend to speed through these biographies because they're usually batshit boring. And anyway, it doesn't tell me anything about the guest. You're already regretting this, aren't you? All right. Alison is the original order maker. What in the fibbly fark does order maker even mean?
Oh, well, I've trademarked it, so it means something to me.
Well, tell our audience. We don't mind read here.
Yeah. No, I'm a sales and marketing guru. In fact, my license plate even says marketing guru. So I'm an order maker. I make it rain, whenever
I don't
work.
know, so unpack that.
So in the world of sales, you have 2 kinds of people. Order takers who sit back and wait, and they do okay. But then you have order makers who are the chasers, who are the thinkers, who are the strategists, who go after the right kinds of clients and make things happen. I happen
Now
to
let's
be
talk
an
about
order
that.
maker.
You said right away, the right kind of clients. What does that mean? Because for me, the right kind of client may be different from somebody else's definition of right kind of client. So what does that mean, number one? And number two, the question that naturally distills out of the answer to that question is, how do you assist your own clients, the people you train and coach, to figure out who their ideal client is?
Sure. It's a hot topic right now, Paul. I heard it described from a friend of mine last week. She was at South by Southwesters and is heading to the South by Southwest here in Austin, Texas. I think it's here in a couple of weeks. Anyway, and we were talking about the brand avatar. That's the newfangled way of saying a target market or a target persona, the client, the person that any business or product manufacturer has to picture is actually buying or using the service or product that someone has makes. So the avatar, the brand avatar, the target market. If you are in marketing, oh, and I'll throw in this too. This morning I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw this girl describing marketing, and I loved what she said, because she basically broke down, advertising. What is advertising? What is press? What is PR? What is marketing as a whole? What is sales? And she was like defining all these different elements. And I was like, oh my God, you're hitting it right on the head, because all of those things, sales, advertising, PR, add up to marketing. And if you want to be in business for yourself, an entrepreneur or a small business, I think you need to have that very clear and targeted focus. Kind of clear the path, undo the fog, stop throwing spaghetti at the wall, stop spinning your wheels, but just stay on one targeted avatar path, and
So,
the rest will fall into place.
so my next question is, well, NECA, I'm probably gonna have to throw her out. Dude,
She's cute.
isn't she a doll baby?
I
Yeah.
wish I could see her there. Okay, is she a tortie?
She is a dilute tortoiseshell. You are a cat lover. I love you. You're
Oh
making
God.
sense already.
So,
So what is the first of all, I'm just going to push back. The term avatar has been around forever in online marketing. So I don't know if there's anything original about that. You push back, please. Push back to my
oh,
pushback.
I don't, it's not my term. That was just something I
Okay.
heard recently. Like this is the hot topic in marketing right now. People talking
Okay.
about brand avatars.
Okay. So what is the process of doing that? Is it focus groups? Is it market research? As soon as you say that, I think of big brands like Coke or Pepsi,
Sure.
even pharmaceutical companies. If you watch any of the legacy news media, Fox News or News Nation or whatever it is, you'll see ads for different pharmaceuticals and they turn them into musicals. Like, I take my daily Jardians and I can eat whatever I want and not be a pig.
I know you're speaking my language, because whenever I watch TV, number one, I hate ads. Like I'm usually on like some kind of a streaming platform, but the nightly news or whatever that's coming on, it's all filled with pharmaceutical ads. But I love when I do get to see ads, my brain just goes into analytical mode, because I'm immediately going, okay, who is their target audience? Who are they trying to reach? Like, why did they choose this dancing clown? Why did they decide to put in poop, whatever it is, I'm automatically like the Super Bowl, for instance, right? So like I couldn't stand the Mountain Dew ad with Seal in it, but at the same
I didn't see
time,
it.
like it was, oh God. Well, after this, you'll have to go back and find the Mountain Dew and Seal ad, Seal the musical artist. So it was the worst, but at the same time, the best marketing campaign little ad that I have seen in a long time, because it was just so off the box, so weird. But at the same time, why hasn't anybody ever done um, Kiss from a Seal? Like Seal. Anyway, and that's what they did. So getting a little bit off track here, toning or figuring out who's going to buy your product. You're talking about big major companies. I like to talk about small mom and pops. I don't really ever really want to work with
Let's go
big
there
Fortune
then.
500. So like
Let's
I got to
go
think
there.
about the little guys, right? So
Let's go there.
I work in construction. So most of my clients are interior designers, fashion, entrepreneurs in stone, surfaces and construction materials. I'm working with people who actually do services like providing kitchen and bath designs, providing interior design services, or fabricating stone and installing it into buildings. Or, one of my big clients right now is actually a quarry over in Vicenza, Italy. And I do a lot of her business development in the United States, and I help them try to relate to the American audience. And it's really, really important that we focus on the right clientele, or we're just wasting money and wasting time. So I consider myself to be sort of an expert in the BD side, and I happen to be an analyst. So I love looking at marketing and thinking about exactly like who is that for? Like, who are they really wanting to buy their product? So I try to teach my clients easy ways to use I use a lot of visual diagrams. Most of the people I work with are visual people. They're space people. They're constantly having to envision something that isn't built yet. So we like visual things. So I teach my people how to use basic diagrams, sheets of paper with letters and lines on them, so that they can chart and plot and try to figure out like who exactly they're targeting, how can they go after them? And then you can just keep going and going and going from there. Marketing budgets, advertising budgets, where to spend your money. I mean, I believe in visual mind mapping. So it's a personal strategy and it works. It works for, some people, maybe not for everybody, but I want to find those people.
Now, you just said something very interesting. You said two things that appear to me to be both complementary and paradoxically different. You said you're an analyst, uh, but you also talked about visual representation. So to me, analysts look at spreadsheets and numbers all day. Have
Not
I got
always.
that wrong?
Yeah, I think you do.
Oh, okay. Well, unpack it for me. Educate me.
Educate you. Well, certainly. I'm not a Webster dictionary, but I mean, I'm assuming if you looked up the definition of analyst, you'd probably see a programmer sitting behind a computer screen looking at spreadsheets, right? But an analyst, somebody who has an analytical mind, has to be able to look at anything and sort of unpack the details that can't be necessarily seen from the naked eye. So yes, from spreadsheets, from numbers, data tells us a lot. But at the same time, in my brain, how my brain works is images, moving parts and pieces, especially like visual aids like television ads or listening to something on a radio. My brain is programmed to think how to break that down into like what was their purpose, why did they choose this item, and I can't explain that. That's just like, God's gift to me, maybe. Oh, I'm moving around too much, I think.
No, you're not moving
There
around
we
too
go.
much. Move as much as you want. We don't edit.
um
This is not like artistically designed. We just are raw, unedited, and cheaply done.
Good to know, good to know. Well, so I believe that you can have an analytical brain and still hate computers.
Okay, I'll buy that. Let's keep going. Allison's first business book, The Art of Selling We Make Order Makers, Not Order Takers, is noted for its overnight success. Overnight, wow, and reaching best-selling status during its first week. What list were you bestseller on?
So in Amazon, if you become an author, and especially if you get into the Amazon KDP world of
I am.
authoring, oh, you're familiar? Okay, great. So you know how Amazon has tons of categories, and
Yeah.
you have to be strategic about how you place a book online in order to reach that target audience, right? You got to know where your placement is. So I don't remember. I'd have to check, Paul, like which categories I placed it in, but
It's an art.
with proper placement into the right categories, it's very easy to reach bestseller lists within your category. So it just takes a little research, and there's some tools out there. I used gosh, what is the name of that program? Rocket Reach, I think is what it's called. And it's a software, it's a very inexpensive program that I actually have it on my desktop. So at any time, if I want to move one of my books around, explore some different categories and keywords, it's an analytical software that helps me analyze what will it take to reach bestsellers list within those categories. Pretty cool.
Very cool. And Nneka just came back for more attention. She wants treats and she's not going to get them.
Well, torties are known for their tortitudes.
I
Just
know
remember.
she's got tortitude. All right. With the launch of her second book, Beyond Order Makers. Now, this is like Planet of the Apes and now Beneath the Planet of the Apes and Beyond the Beneath the Planet of the Apes. You're reiterating your title. Okay, so tell us about Beyond Order Makers. It's a visionary approach to sales and marketing, explaining how to create a compelling brand strategy with insights for entrepreneurs looking to elevate their branding, target marketing, and business development. So one difference I see here is um you said you were working with a quarry in Italy, which sounds fantastic to me. But are you working with entrepreneurs who are in different niches, or what are the niches that you work with?
Yeah, I mean, I am trying to stay in my lane. So over the last 15 years, which isn't that long, but it's a long time. I have catered to architects, interior designers,
Really cool.
kitchen and bath dealers, contractors, remodelers, people in and stone purchasers, wholesalers, fabricators. We have this whole world over here in building and remodeling and construction. And I love to be in that lane. So I'm expanding a little bit out towards that interior designer sector, which is crosses over into furnishings and people who build spaces visually. And that's been a tiny bit of a reach. We're all in the same boat, but what I have discovered is the entrepreneur that I like is usually mom and pop businesses, one person business owners. And in our world, we, especially designers, are notorious for being amazing space builders and tactile and textile and stone and material goods, but they're terrible business people.
Isn't that the case with all visionaries?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's the same thing even in my
Oh,
stone world, right? Like a lot of the people who open countertop installation businesses at some point in their life they worked in a shop for someone else. They were trained by a larger company and then decided to go out on their own. That's been the expansion since the 1990s. So very often these are labor intensive people, not saying that they didn't have grand amounts of education, but they're typically not business people, right? So the brain pathways, our neural pathways just go in different directions.
totally true, which is why
Yeah,
you need a partner who understands that kind of thing. I don't understand that kind of thing. I have people on my team who do it, and or I
right.
do joint ventures with people who understand it completely. Otherwise, I'd be a mess. I
Yeah.
want to dive in, but I want to dive into another question. So I'm still not grasping when I understand branding for, let's say I come to you and I'm an architect and I want to brand myself and figure out who my avatar is for my architectural services. I I sort of grasp the idea of figuring out who my avatar is. But is part of that process, no, honey. I'm sorry, I'm not calling you honey. I'm calling the cat, honey. Neka, be a good girl and leave daddy alone. I'll give you a treat. Is part of that process winnowing down who they won't work with?
Most people can't afford to say no to business, especially if you're a small business or in business for yourself. However, what I have discovered, and this isn't all my ideas, I mean, I've had training and coaching as well along the way, but it makes sense to me to focus on that one strategic, great customer that you want to build, the life that you want to build. So if you want to use an architect, for example, I talked to a guy this morning. I'm going to see him next week. He wants to do more work in South Florida. He's not in South Florida. He's in Georgia. But fantastic person, designs beautiful villas, and has done work in Appalachian Mountains, has done work in Colorado and
Cool.
Montana. Does a lot of mountain homes, but he loves villas and he wants to design more Mediterranean villas and he wants to get more work down in South Florida. So how does he go about doing that? Well, number one, I mean, you have to show the work that you've done, but you've got to build those components, the PR, the advertising, the appearances, the pull and color strategy that are going to what's the word I'm looking for? They're going to pull in the client that you really, really want. And I mean, also, it takes a good bit of you want to use data of clients that you've had in existence because we don't want to turn those people away. So it's a magic little formula and medium of building a vision, especially through visual mediums like websites and social media and what press goes out into the world and the things that you participate in, podcasts or awards or particular networking communities and groups. you have to strategically align yourself with the people along that path. So, we were talking today about if he wants to build more work in South Florida, one of the best things that he can do is start to target and align himself with certain other people within that community that are already established, such as an interior designer who also fits the same aesthetic, a kitchen designer who already fits that same aesthetic. And with the kitchen designer usually comes a particular brand of cabinetry that continuously over and over attracts a particular client. And strategically partnering yourself with the right builder, with the right contractors, that once you begin to network and formulate those types of alliances, and it takes a little bit of time, building and building and building, eventually the idea is that you're going to get the other business. The other business isn't going away, but you're building an attraction module that can help bring in this ideal customer. Maybe you've had them once before and you want to just kind of keep building on that ideal avatar. So I hope that makes sense.
Yes, it did. And do you teach? Oftentimes, I've found that people whose head is in the code of what they do, architects, whoever it is, they lack some of the soft skills. Once you can do the branding, and you talked about joining the communities. Do you teach the soft skills that they need to create rapport and show interest in a way that the other person feels seen and heard, or is that something that they need to learn uh, as a complement to what you do?
Paul, I hadn't really thought about the soft skills because I automatically think about how I'm gonna take somebody at face value, and I'm gonna try to find someone personally who aligns with my personality and goals, right?
Totally get it.
So, I don't really tell people how to be. Now, in my first book, The Art of Selling, that book was written for sales reps. That book was written for people because in my industry, there's no training for so many people. People get pulled from random career paths and get dumped into like the stone and surfaces industry, and it takes years to find your niche. But anyway, so I wrote that book for the sales rep. I wrote that book for people who want to learn the art of selling. And I talk about chameleoning, right?
Oh, what's that mean?
Well, so it's gotten good and bad reviews, mostly good. Most people get it, but some people are like, "Oh, well, you're just saying that you copycat the person that you're talking to." Anyway, I've had some nasty comments about
I
chameleon. So
love nasty comments. I would say one of my things I say, Allison, is your hate makes me stronger.
I don't really give a shit. So at
There
the
you
end,
go. There's your first swear word. I told Allison in the
oh
pre
yeah,
that
sorry.
she can say whatever curse word she wants. We don't give a fuck here on the Influencer's Edge. So unpack that
Okay,
answer.
okay, okay. So anyway, chameleoning. So, I'll use an example. Like, let's say that you were out selling windows, right? And you're kind of a door-to-door salesperson, and you have no idea who's behind door number C, in the townhouse
Sure, for
community
sure.
that you're stalking a customer. And most of these people, they work on lead-based sales calls anyway, but there are still some door to door, cold call type of environment. So if you were in that position and you had to go see a homeowner from a lead, now obviously they want you there because they've already submitted an online inquiry to, you know, amazonwindows.com and said, please come give me a quote. So you got something in your working for you already. But more importantly, the moment you walk in the door, it's imperative as a salesperson that you begin to observe your surroundings and try to mentally in like 30 seconds. I mean, this is an art. It literally is an art to take in who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? And you could get a clue from a painting on the wall that's maybe a football helmet from 1970s in Pittsburgh, or you could walk in and notice that the curtains are all floral, and the homeowner, Mrs. Susan, happens to have little tiddlywinks all over her shelves. You got to start to analyze that analytical brain, the customer, what makes them happy, what makes them tick, the type of energy to bring to the meeting is very, very important. Like, I am talking very loud and very boisterous to you, Paul Ross, here on the phone, but that might not go over very well with Mrs. Susan, who has 18 cats and tiddlywinks all over her shelves. She might not like that. She might think that I'm too bossy. So, moral of the story is I have to meet customers where they are, and I have to analyze who they are and what they need and how they need me to be in that moment if I'm going to be successful. And that is the art of chameleoning. So it's not copycatting, it's just meeting people where they are mentally, physically, emotionally, artistically, understanding who the fuck you're talking to.
I love it. I love it. Actually, you know what? We're almost at the end of our time, so let me power through some of this other.
Oh, this is
We're
fast. Okay.
oh no, we're we're just going here. Construction showcasing, blah blah blah. Let's talk about. You say your story is one of resilience and adaptability. I think resilience is a necessary quality in any field of endeavor, including part of what I do is healing. And there's one of my favorite books is called Hope and Resiliency, about creating hope in people who are depressed and then giving them the tools to be resilient. So tell us a little bit about your own personal story of having to be resilient. Every entrepreneur has to be
Yeah.
resilient, but personally, how does this apply to you, if you don't mind? Because I really want the audience to know you. They can always get the details of what you have because we ask every guest if they have a gift or however the audience can stay in the conversation with them. But tell us about yourself. Where did the resilience have to show up for you in your journey?
Oh my goodness. Well, my mom likes to say that I have I'm like a cat, that I have 9 or 10 lives. I think I'm probably about 7 down.
Ah,
So so, and also in my family, okay, I come from a long line of alcoholic entrepreneurs from the world of like West Virginia. And so,
wow.
we're pretty go-getting kind of people. Um, and I'm not downtrodden my family. They're actually very hardworking
Oh,
people,
I get it.
successful, etc. But in from that regard, I would say, I gave New York City a go early on, right out of college. I did my 5 year, what I like to call getting my master's in life, up there, and I started a career in textiles
Understand,
and
Allison,
procurement.
I get it. I went to Screw You University.
Yeah.
I get
Well, I throw that in there because I mean New York's great. I love it. And there's nothing wrong. But I totally, coming from Appalachia, if I hadn't have made that jump, I don't know where I would be in life today because I grew up in a really small town in the middle of nowhere. So I'm thankful for that resilience because I had to switch gears, switch careers, wait for the right thing to come my way because in 2008 you couldn't get a job. There was nothing going on. Everything was kind of crashing around. So been through a little bit of that. I think, people can learn from that. Um,
scary, scary, scary as hell.
well, I worked in a retail store. I did what I do best. I sold, I sold clothes. I did what I had to do to make money. I think I had 4 jobs at one time. One of which was getting nude for artists.
Wow. I was an underwear model and a hitman to make money, but my
Wait,
weapon kept showing, so I had to quit.
wait. I don't know. I could talk about this stuff forever, but I mean, like, I'm a
No, but I
hustler.
want you to, this
Yeah.
is gold because
Oh,
this is where the
good.
audience, just hold on. This is where the audience gets to know who you are. And I think for entrepreneurs, if you
Mhm.
tap out, if you're not willing to do what you were willing to do, take on for or whatever it takes, if you tap out when your back is against the wall, then you're done. And there's one of my favorite books is called 3 Feet from Gold. I don't know if you're familiar with this book.
No, but that sounds awesome, actually. I
It's
love
a
that title.
metaphor. It's a metaphor about someone who buys a gold mine, but it's never been dug before, and they dig and dig and dig and get nowhere. and they sell it for like $1 to someone who keeps digging in different places. And he hits the gold vein. He goes, "Oh, that was just 3 feet from where that other person gave up." And so I think this resilience that you showed, and then you said
Yeah.
something else. I'm going to go a little bit overtime because you said something that
Oh,
really touched me. Uh, you said you went from Appalachia to New York City. That is a huge culture shock.
yeah.
Appalachia is known for being one of the poorest parts of the country. And tell us
Yes.
about the culture shock that you saw and how you dealt with it.
Well, I mean, I'm processing a lot of this trauma now. So, and I'll clarify too that I'm sober. It's 2025. I have took a pledge of sobriety about 5 years ago, and so that has also changed my life. And it has a
Wonderful.
direct correlation to my upbringing because when I was in high school, and a lot of this is coming out now, like people are talking about it. There's been movies made. There's a great book out that I just ordered because of my
Oh,
friends from back home called Demon Copperhead. It
oh,
was written and it was written by this fabulous lady, and it's about a boy in Appalachia and some of his struggles. And I haven't read it yet, but I'm really excited about it because people are telling me you got to read this book out. You got to read it. So anyway, so growing up in a little small town in Appalachia, and I graduated high school in '99. So I'm not that old, not that young. But during that time period, we were right in the middle of the opioid crisis. So I watched a lot of families suffer. I lost friends, lost parents, people who were in really high elevated positions in life we saw go to jail or die or kill people. There has been a level of trauma from the area that I grew up in that I don't think I mean everybody's got trauma, right? So I'm not going to justify and say that ours is any worse or better than like Ukraine, right? So, but I'm just saying that like 20, 30 years later, you start to the resilience for me is coming and knowing that like thank God I didn't do any drugs in high school. Like thank God I didn't get into some of those things. Thank God every day somehow I was protected and I was able to get out. Because there was a lot of people who didn't, and I have very close friends who lost parents, cousins, siblings. I mean, in my own high school class, I think we've lost 30 kids,
that's
um, which
that's
is
tragic.
it is tragic. So there's that. I can't wait to read that book. And if you haven't heard about it and you want to learn more about Appalachia, I think that's a great place to start. My dad is the another book that tells his life story was Rocket Boys, which was made into a film about 30 years ago. My dad was the son of a coal miner and also had five brothers and sisters, and they grew up in absolute poverty in the middle of West Virginia with no water. At one point when he was a child, my grandmother, like, oh my God, my grandmothers, like both sides, like the most stoic and amazing women, wow, that I can look up to in my life today. I just don't know how grandmother Mullins did it. And
I
I
don't
really,
know if I could just to identify with you. I am second generation Eastern European immigrant, and my great, my grand aunt Golda came over from the boat in Russia when she was 15 and a half, 16, with nothing. Didn't speak English, had maybe $10 in a pack of clothes, and said, "This is the promised land." We brought the whole family over from Russia and Ukraine. And I think to myself, how did they struggle on whatever crappy boat they were on that long journey? How did they make it with no money, not speaking? And so I identify with that immigrant trauma. And even though I've been privileged enough to be two generations removed, I think that trauma is in our genetics. I think it gets passed on into the DNA or the energetic field or whatever you want to call it. So the trauma you
absolutely.
went through to personally witness these things, and you are blessed, whatever blessing, whatever power there is that made sure that you didn't get into the stuff that was modeled for you everywhere, because it was embedded into every aspect, your everyday life, everywhere you turn. Something must have been protecting you, some inner wisdom or something.
Well, I like today, I use the spirit of the universe, kind of like what I like to call, I have a a power around me that I call God, and I'm really thankful to have taken that journey of discovery, because I really wasn't a religious person, definitely more spiritual. But I know today that I am protected and I'm carried, and I have to look back at some of the choices that have been presented to me over the years, and life is all about choices. So, ironically, Paul, you mentioned that gold book, and like, please don't, nobody steal my idea, please, but I really want to write a book called The Yellow Brick Road. I'm gonna cry. But at some
I
point,
want this. See, this is what I want. I told you I wanted, it took a while to pry it out of you, but I want my audience to know the warm
you're
human
asking
being.
me you're asking me business questions. I'm still the same person, but I do have something underneath all of
This
the
is what my
marketing guru
audience
shit.
loves. This is what bonds them to you and makes them
Right.
really want to stay in the conversation.
Yeah, I really want to write a book called The Yellow Brick Road, because I do think that I'm just one of those nine lives kind of people. I learn by mistakes. I've made
Yep.
great ones, I've made terrible ones, right? But for me, it's the mistakes that typically teach me some kind of a lesson to make me turn left. And it's those choices in turning left that are giving me the grace and the humility to stand on my own 2 feet today. So
I
it's
love
where
those words. I love
oh,
those
thank
words.
you.
I love that. Grace and humility. I think being open to the challenges of life without needing a guarantee that you're going to succeed, but walking in faith that you'll either learn what you need to or you'll see some form of success as a gift. That grace opens a doorway, and that faith opens a doorway to something that goes beyond technique, beyond executing a strategy. You have to
Yeah.
have technique and strategy. This has been absolutely wonderful. I told you we would get to who you are as a person. It just took a while. I got you on my couch, my psychology couch. Um, I know my audience because you are such a warm-hearted and such an analytically brilliant human being will want to stay in the conversation with you. So, Allison, how did they do that?
Well, I built a website, so I hope you like it. It's www.rep methods methods.com. That's one way you can find out about me, just soup to nuts. And I built it myself, so go check it out. I am on social media. I really hate social media, you
Me
guys.
too.
For being a marketing person, I was given a talk last week. I'm the anti social media marketer. Okay.
Too.
So just know that about me.
Me
But I'm
too.
there. I'm on all the channels. It's just so you can see some of the stuff that I'm
I
doing.
was on TikTok, but I got so my attention
Mhm.
span dropped to 15 seconds and I couldn't work, so I
It's
deleted it.
not, well, and that's just it. I was given a talk last week. We could talk about this all day, but I really and truthfully believe like that is not the way. I don't think it's the way of doing small business. And
No,
there's
no.
so much better human we need to get back to. We need to get back to so much
I
more
think people are
human.
missing that and they're missing the authenticity that can't come
Yeah.
from or from social media. And that we're gonna let you go, but stay with me in the post green room chat. Thanks, Allison. And we'll see you. Wait for it. Wait for it on the next episode of The Influencer's Edge.
The Influencer's Edge is brought to you by the Rapid Sales Accelerator. If you're ready to skyrocket your sales by 30% or more in just 90 days, then you need to claim your free training right now. You'll learn 4 words that will compel your prospects to trust you like they were children within the first 3 to 5 minutes of any conversation across any platform and any medium. You'll learn how to give your prospects objection amnesia, to crush objections like, I need to talk to my spouse, or I need more time to think it over, or it's too expensive. If you'd like to claim your free training now, go to www.paulrossbook.com. Do it before your competition does it now. Thank you for tuning in to the Influencer's Edge, where you get the latest breakthroughs, cutting-edge insights, tools, and techniques so you can leapfrog over the pack in sales, influence, and persuasion. Remember to visit our website at www.theinfluencersedge.com to enjoy even more great episodes like this one. We look forward to seeing you again on the Influencers Edge Show.